Welcome to the Teachers on Fire podcast, where 21st century educators come to share, learn, and be inspired. We believe in the growth mindset, creativity, communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and strategic uses of education technology. Our mission is to share news and views from teachers who are crushing it in the classroom and making a difference for learners everywhere. I'm your host, Tim Cavey. Let's jump into today's episode. Today I'm speaking with Jordan Potrzeba. Jordan is a fourth grade teacher, Go Noodle ambassador, Nearpod certified educator, and third-year teacher in Central Florida. You can find more of Jordan's journey with learning and education at bloggingjungle.blogspot.com. Jordan, thanks so much for coming on the show today. Are you ready to talk education?
Oh, I've been ready. I'm so excited to do this.
That sounds great. Why don't we jump in by talking about your current teaching situation?
All right. So as you mentioned, I'm a third-year teacher. I was born and raised in Nebraska. I came down to Central Florida, which is Auburndale, to work at Caldwell Elementary. I'm teaching fourth grade there. We have a pretty high rate of poverty. We have a lot of low-income families, but these kids just work so hard, and it's a blessing to be here. And last year, I actually taught reading and social studies half the year, and then we had teacher leave, so then I taught math and science for a little bit, and I'm excited to announce that I'm still going to be a fourth grade teacher there, but I get to teach every subject next year.
Sweet, man. So you get to be the homeroom teacher. You get to be Mr. Everything.
Yes. And see, my first year I was doing it all, and then last year I decided, you know what, I'll only teach reading, and now I'm back to doing what I love, so I'm excited.
That's awesome. Well, it is when you're a homeroom teacher in those elementary grades that you really do mean so much to those kids, and you give a lot back, I can tell already. Jordan, tell us about a low moment that you faced in your teaching or education career, and then how you overcame it.
Yeah, so it was my first year teaching, and I was having ups and downs, and Todd Nesloney from Kids Deserve It kind of introduced himself to me, and he got me on track. He helped me through things, but then it was actually near the end of the year where my principal and I were talking, and she finally just kind of flat out said, you know, Mr. Potrzeba, you're different and don't fit in. And I remember it just took me in awe, like, did she really just say that? And it was, and I didn't get angry. I never got angry, but instead I said, I'm like, I just remember I responded to her and I said, you know what, you're right, and I'm proud of it. And ever since that moment, I've embraced being different, and I've embraced not fitting in, because for me, I don't like to be like everyone else, because I mean that's boring. I want to do things that no one's ever done. I have lofty goals. I have impossible expectations on me. And so I could have taken that moment to get down on myself and say, yeah, you know, I'm never going to be good enough. I wasn't good enough here, and so forth. And then instead I turned it into a positive and started actually speaking my voice through it and sharing that it's okay to be different, especially for students. That, you know, oftentimes bullying is a situation at schools, a very unfortunate one, and now we're actually seeing it in politics, unfortunately. And you know, it's telling those kids that are being bullied or hurt in some way, shape, or form that, you know what, it's okay to be who you are. Don't let someone that's maybe a little envious of you or jealous get down on you. Keep doing what you're doing if you're happy with it. So just it is definitely okay to be different.
So that was a difficult experience, obviously, to go through during your first year of teaching, Jordan. Talk to us more about how did you proceed from that point forward? What did that self-talk sound like for you?
From that moment, I kind of took a sign from God that I wasn't meant to be at that school. I loved it there. I really enjoyed it. I had the best group of kids ever. But instead, I decided to go out and kind of say, you know, hey, I'm looking for a change in scenery, and that's actually where this school found me. But not only through this school, but I also started doing more blogs. And so I think my blogging in the jungle had started a little bit before that, but I know I've had a couple blogs about being different. And so I started using my voice to hopefully inspire and to show my vulnerability with others. And so yeah, I just really said, you know what, let's take the high road and move forward, because that's what we have to do.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that story, Jordan. One thing that I take out of this is that as teachers, as in other professions, we experience hostility, we experience rejection, we experience poor attitudes or doubt or unfair criticism. I think sometimes it's really difficult for teachers to know whether they should stick it out in a situation and try their best to influence the culture and community that they're in the best that they can.
Mhm.
Or sometimes it does mean moving on, right, into another context, as you put it, getting a change of scenery and finding another situation where perhaps you're celebrated, you're supported, you're trusted, and into a situation where your unique gifts and personality and abilities can be recognized and amplified and promoted in a positive way.
Yeah, and with that said, I want to be clear. Like it hurt. It stung. It was at a Lutheran school of all places, so it was kind of even more shocking to hear it. But I surround myself with people that are like-minded like me, that have that growth mindset, that are positive, and that honestly are, some of them are tough on me. And so I told them the story, and they kept building me up. And so then I made it a mission to build up my students when they have certain situations like that.
So I think your story does offer a lot to teachers. Maybe there are some teachers listening who find themselves, unfortunately, in a negative context. Maybe there's some toxicity, some doubting, some harsh critiques that are unwarranted, or just a stale environment of, one that doesn't really foster growth. And maybe it is time for those teachers to look around and say, hey, what else is available? What other options do I have? I don't necessarily need to put in 10 years here and, have my soul slowly dying in that process. Let's move on to something a little brighter, Jordan. Let's talk about something that is really igniting your passion for education. This might be something in the big picture, or it might be on the micro level, something that you're doing right there in your classroom that is electrifying your passion for education today.
Well, and it's kind of ironic. It feeds into what we were just talking about. I love it nowadays that teachers are standing up. I'm seeing it. Maybe it's my group that I'm with, and I'm on Instagram and Twitter a lot, and Facebook, and I just see so many educators that are standing up for themselves, or that they're just sharing their vulnerability, and I think it's amazing. I know I'm new in education, but it seemed like we were also kind of closed, and now through social media we're opening the doors. But also, I'm seeing a lot of teachers' practices change. I've talked with a lot of veteran teachers, and this has been a very interesting transition period because of this age of technology. And I'm excited about it. I love technology. I actually have Vinny, my robot from Lego, right here with me. I was coding this morning with it, and I'm thrilled about it. But I'm also thrilled with when I see educators that are changing their practices, that are not, what they were doing wasn't necessarily wrong, but they're upgrading it. And I think Dave Burgess Publishing, their books are phenomenal, helping teachers get that passion and to encourage them to change and to, I guess I would say upgrade their ways. But we're upgrading it because the future is now and the future's changing, and so teachers are adapting to it. And so I love to see that.
I couldn't have said it any better, Jordan. I think teachers are getting their voices out there, they're getting heard, they're sharing their ideas, and of course, Twitter and social media platforms are revolutionizing the way that teachers share, and it's a very exciting time to be in education. Absolutely. I have the privilege this week of following along with a large education technology conference, the largest of its kind in the world. It's taking place this week in Chicago. It's called ISTE, and a lot of our listeners will be familiar with ISTE. I was part of the conference last year in San Antonio, and so now I have a good sense of what's going on there. And I was thinking, 5 or 10 years ago, if I hadn't been to the conference myself, I wouldn't be seeing all of these juicy details and all of these artifacts and all of these celebrations of learning between educators. I would just be completely clueless. And so there's just another way that social media and Twitter has completely revolutionized what is available to teachers today.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching ISTE with you, man, and I'm also watching Get Your Teach On and in California, and I'm like you. I'm a little jealous. I actually went to an education conference. I think it was FETC in Orlando, and it was so cool because you meet so many people, and it's giving teachers more opportunities to educate themselves, but they're doing that so that way they can help their students, and that's what this is all about. Is when we're sharing our voices, we're letting our students know that, hey, just because I'm a teacher doesn't mean that I'm just here from 8 to 4 o'clock. It's like, no, teachers can continue to be role models long after the school hours, and I love it.
And just projecting that idea, right, that we as teachers are still learners too. It's the idea that we go before our students regularly and we say, hey, guys, I've picked up this idea from somewhere. I'm going to try it out. I'm not 100% sure that it's going to work out. It may be a bit of a flop, but we're going to try it together. We're going to do some learning together. And I think that modeling is so important for students to see from us in the classroom, that sense that we haven't got it all figured out, but we've got that growth mindset and we're on a journey of learning as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Jordan, outside of the education space, what's another area of passion and learning for you? You mentioned the robot coding, which is very cool. Is there something else that really ignites your passion for personal learning?
Yeah, I'm a traveler. It's just people that used to know me probably wouldn't even believe it anymore, but I just love traveling. I love to see the world. In college, I was blessed to teach in Ghana, Africa for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then another year I was accepted to teach in Shenzhen, China for a month. And so if we don't want to take it educationally, I've also traveled to, I think, 35 states. I love seeing the world, and it's ironic, and I love eating. It's funny because I'm a picky eater, but I will try anything. So I love seeing different cultures. It helps me understand the world better. It helps educate me better. It's phenomenal.
I love it. You're still early in your career, right, Jordan? So a lot of years remain to visit all of the countries still on your list. Next, Jordan, share with us about a personal habit that contributes to your success.
For me, it's music. I've started to get into the guitar, but I just love listening to music. I'm a runner. So when I'm not spending hours at school or not on Twitter chats, I'm usually running, but I like to listen to music with it. And I just like to listen to uplifting music, and it just fuels me because I've had some situations that have been burdensome, but if I got music in me and I'm just hearing those positive words, it just gets me going. And the best part is sometimes I like to listen to it at school, so I'll pop in my headphones, and if I'm kind of getting ready to teach, I'll be dancing in my room, or if I have to run an errand, I might kind of strut in the hallways with my earbuds from time to time, and teachers will just laugh, and I have no shame in it. Absolutely no shame. I will go all Ron Clark and and be on tables, because that's how I teach from time to time, but no shame whatsoever. So music is something that contributes to part of my success.
Well, right on, brother. I like the sound of that. And, when you're teaching fourth grade, I don't think you have to worry about ending up on Snapchat, right? So you can just dance freely.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of my students have threatened that, and I'm just like, bring it. Like, once again, no shame. Like, I know there's some videos that teachers have on me out there, and they can post them anytime. Anytime.
Moving into some rapid fire recommendations, Jordan, tell us about one or two giants of education on Twitter that we really need to be following.
All right. I got to give a shout out to my school, so Caldwell Elementary, but also Nicole Taylor there, a Guy's Bride. That's at Guy's Bride. She's our IT person. She is the most crazy, positive, loving person on the face of the planet that I've ever met, besides my mom. Because she is just she is so uplifting, and you just can't help but smile when you meet her. So you gotta follow at Guy's Bride, and then Todd Nesloney from Kids Deserve It. He's this phenomenal principal in Texas. You got to be following him. He just got out a new book called Sparks in the Dark. It is about reading. It will light that spark in you. So those would be the two that I got to give shout outs to.
Cool. Now, Todd Nesloney is at Tech Ninja Todd. Is that right, Jordan?
Yeah. Yes. Sorry about that. Yes. At Tech Ninja Todd.
Okay. Great picks on Twitter, Jordan. Really appreciate those. Next, let's talk about edtech tools. Is there one that you would really recommend we try based on either your work in the classroom or maybe your personal productivity? Is there something that is really working well for you?
Well, everyone knows that I use Go Noodle, but Nearpod is my big passion. Nearpod was something in college that they said, yeah, y'all should use Nearpod. And I remember that I said, I'm never going to use Nearpod. Well, guess what I'm using? I'm using Nearpod. Nearpod is basically a PowerPoint on steroids. I mean, you can do all certain things with it. You can collaborate. You can have I'm one-to-one in my class with iPads, but I also had Kindles before that through a Donors Choose project. And I could see the responses that way. And it helped make my teaching more engaging. So I dress up in characters. I'm on tables. I'm doing a lot of hands-on things, but if we want to incorporate that technology piece with it, or instead of using the smart board PowerPoint or whatever it's called, I can't even think of what it is. You can go on Nearpod. So Nearpod's a big one for me, but also FlipGrid. FlipGrid now is free for everyone. Nearpod isn't if you want to get a big subscription. So I'm going to chime into FlipGrid. My good friend at the school, Brandy Miller, is a huge advocate for it, but now that it's free, y'all gotta use FlipGrid. It's another student response orient type thing, but it is phenomenal, and the fact that it's free is humongous. So you gotta use FlipGrid.
It's true. Now, your fourth graders, do they each have an iPad? Is that right?
Yeah. So originally I had a Donors Choose project that got Kindles funded because iPads are so expensive, but we don't let cost affect us. We embrace it. And so I got Kindles first, and then our school was able to get a grant for iPads. So the second half of the year I was using more iPads. So I was thrilled about that.
Yes, I was just going to say I think iPads would work really, really well with FlipGrid. I've only used FlipGrid in a PC Mac environment where students have laptops, but I can imagine just based on the user friendliness of the iPad, that it would work really, really well at the elementary levels. I can imagine your fourth graders would be all over that stuff. Next, Jordan, let's talk about books. Is there a book that you've been reading lately that you could share about, or is there an all-time fave you'd like to recommend?
All right, so I'll give you two. I got to go educational first. The book that started it all for me was, my mom said, Jordan, you got to read Play Like a Pirate by Quinn Rollins. So I said, okay, well, Play Like a Pirate is is this middle school teacher that shares all his ideas about using Legos and rubber duckies and comic books and maps and all types of board games into teaching. And so Quinn Rollins' book, which is by Dave Burgess's publishing, kind of lit that spark in me. And immediately I remember I went and bought Teach Like a Pirate, and I haven't stopped reading those books since. So that's an education book that you got to read. And then the book that I'm currently reading is Refugee. So Refugee is about 3 kids, 3 different time periods, and they are, well, trying to take refuge. And it is really good, and I don't want to spoil any of it, but you got to read Refugee.
The last 2 questions here, Jordan, relate to video. We'll start with YouTube. Tell us about a channel that you subscribe to and enjoy, either in your classroom or maybe one that just personally amuses you.
So when I was student teaching, I wanted to. My students were struggling with math. They were studying. They were struggling with, I think it was perimeter. And so one night I remember I went on YouTube and I just typed in like math songs. Well, then I got this math rap that I loved. And I remember I rehearsed it. Well, then last year I went back to math, and so I actually found more songs. And so the channel that I really like for math songs for elementary kids that can even work for upper elementary is NumberRock Songs. So they have good visuals, and their songs are usually pretty catchy. So you should follow NumberRock Songs on YouTube.
Okay. I think there's kind of an emerging niche opening up on YouTube for music types, education, musically talented types to get creative and make some good music around education concepts. A few episodes back on this show, someone recommended a channel called Flocabulary. I don't know if you've heard of it. And one of the songs I looked at there featured a song all about hyperboles. And just the most creative, funny, amusing song. And I thought, man, what a great teaching tool, right? To sort of engage your students and bring them into a concept through these really clever and well-designed music videos. So yeah, just another opportunity for someone so inclined and talented out there to get into that space of making educational music videos on YouTube. I certainly appreciate what people are already putting out there on YouTube, and we'll have to take a look at NumberRock Songs. Make sure we're subscribed to that channel. Sounds like a fun one. Last question, Jordan. You're at the end of your day. You've got no energy left for planning units or lessons or coding robots. What are you kicking back and watching on the tube these days?
What am I watching? I don't have Netflix anymore, but I was a huge The Office fan. So I absolutely love watching The Office. That was my jam. Watch it all the time. I think I've watched the seasons like twice now, and now it's on Comedy Central, so I'm like watching it again. I can't get enough of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so good. The Office never fails. Absolutely. Jordan, this has been so much fun, man. Really appreciate it. What are the best ways for people to follow you and get to know your content just a little bit better online?
Yeah, so I use Twitter a lot more, so I would follow me on Twitter at Jordan Potrzeba, and then on Instagram it's the same handle. It's at Jordan Potrzeba, and then of course I have my blogging website that I try to blog every so often. It is bloggingjungle.blogspot.com. So to spell my last name, it is P as in Peter, O, T as in toy, R, Z as in zebra, E, B as in boy, and A.
All right, Jordan, that sounds simple enough to get a hold of you. Thank you so much for coming on here, man. This has been a lot of fun, and your optimism, your fresh vision, your determination to be yourself, to be different, to bring fresh ideas into the classroom. I tell you what, it's really inspirational and it's contagious. Thank you so much for sharing your insights today. Have a wonderful summer.
All right, thank you. Same to you. It was a blast being on here.
All right, take care, Jordan.
All right, see ya.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Teachers on Fire, where teachers come to share, learn, and be inspired. Please subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review on iTunes, and follow us on Twitter at Teachers on Fire. I'm your host, Tim Cavey, saying goodbye for now, and we'll catch you next time, right here on the Teachers on Fire podcast.